we're at the Hudson Theater um, because the last space we performed in closed down. But just to that point alone, the support of local theater has so many aspects to it. Just at the roots of it, it is a place for artists to practice their art. And that saying of if the tree falls in the forest, no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. Well, same thing with what we're doing. If artists aren't able to get in front of an audience and share their art and get feedback, it stunts their developmental process. So that's just at the ground roots of why supporting local theaters is important. But beyond that, most plays that we see that we fall in love with, historically speaking, started in somewhere or another at a local level. It started whether it's in a living room or a small theater. It started somewhere. So it is the trajectory to something that can become a classic. And so I encourage our community to continue to support the arts, because the arts is the current state and it is the future. And we as humans are constantly developing our communication skills and developing an understanding of who we are as a people, particularly as how we relate to one another. We have so many topics that we're still dealing with, just again, throw a major one out there, how we relate as people of color to one another. We made great strides in that conversation, but there's yet so much more to be discussed. And in the theater, we have that opportunity to shine a light on a particular voice and allow them to have the space to speak their truth, so that we that are sitting in the audience can process it in a way that is non-confrontational, and then we can have a conversation that has a greater understanding of the heart of the topic. That's just one thing. There are many things to cover, but again, support local theater, support local artists for that purpose. Shakespeare was just a guy in a local theater until his plays became famously known. We can name that for any one of the greats. And there are still people that are producing great work to this day. Lin-Manuel is one of them, again. And to, just to name a few. So support local theater for that purpose.
I really feel strongly about this. I'm actually a longtime member of Actors Co-op Theater in Hollywood, which is another similarly sized, similar level of theater. But the theaters like the Hudson, especially in LA, I've lived and worked in several other cities, but it's a different thing in Los Angeles. And LA actors say that sometimes and people roll their eyes, but it really is in a town that's so focused on the camera. Creativity very often for actors lives in the local theaters. And I say local, which could mean your neighborhood, but also a smaller size theater than, let's say, the Amundsen downtown. The chance to explore, take a risk. Very often what we do as actors in LA is we go to the audition and we hold up the bar of soap and we smile and say, it's great. And then even if we get the job, you don't come home feeling like you've given something of your talent. You use your skills and your personality, but to really use your heart and your soul, that happens in small theaters in Los Angeles. So that's not only important for the actors and the designers and the creators, but for the audiences as well. It's where they're going to see that actor who in some ways has nothing to lose and everything to gain by just throwing themselves in here. We can, LA small theaters can give voice to causes in a way that larger commercial theaters may not be able to, may not have as much chance to. We can be in touch with our local neighborhoods in a more direct way. We can just do more because the budgets are smaller. They're just vital. And I think sometimes people in LA may not understand that until those theaters aren't there anymore. We've seen it happen a little bit already. And God bless LA small theaters.
Spaces like the Hudson and theaters like it all across the city, all across this nation and globe, I would say, across the world, they are needed because it is that outlet. It is that place for artists to create, for folks to come and witness it and share in it. And they don't have the big funding that other businesses do. Sometimes that even, that other large theaters do. And so they need all the help they can get because it's needed. It's needed. It's those are the spaces at times where the non-published voices get to be heard. Those are the spaces where voices across the board, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what minority, no matter what background, no matter what belief, where all of that can be shared. Everyone needs a voice in that sense. And so these theaters and these spaces are needed for that. They're vital. They are vital. When arts started being removed from the schools, when the funding was drastically slashed in a lot of places, I believe our youth suffered due to it, because it's not about, for someone to go be an actor or a musician, it's about what it does for you internally. The arts do so much to open you up, to show you a different side of yourself. So, it's needed across the board.
Local theater is so vital to a community and a community's art scene. Growing up, even when I was a kid doing like community theater, and how much fun that was for all of us in the show, but also the amount of people in the community that loved to come and see and support it, and like just the at the community theater level, just the amount of joy that brings to the amount of people that are touched by that in the show, in the team, the audiences, and so when you move up to the more professional regional theaters, I just think that scope continues to expand. And if you have people that love theater and love plays, stuff like this that is a little more accessible and is just as kind of exciting as in a lot of cases, the bigger productions or the smaller productions are just, it's so unique, as we said kind of earlier in the conversation. Like it is this, there's nothing like being in a room with people who are communicating and telling a story in that way and feeling that. And so these theaters like the Hudson that are a little more accessible to people and have such a great kind of intimate space are just, there's nothing like them kind of, in other areas of entertainment. It's super unique.
Small theaters are so important to every community. I think that small theaters are really special because intimate theater is kind of like peering into a tiny window. I think that you oftentimes, in small theaters, you're seeing work that is not being shown to the public. So generally the stories that are told there are more specific and unique and stories that you don't generally see as much on TV or in, these big box office theater shows. I think that it's really important and really informative, and it gives the opportunity for more artists and people to share their voice and to just experience things that are other than, what is commercially friendly. That's been my favorite thing about being part of small intimate theater.
Small theaters, intimate theater, there's a lot of different ways to describe it. But these local theater companies, theaters are extremely important to theater, to audiences on a number of levels. First of all, I don't know if people know this, but we have had, and I don't know to what extent the pandemic took its toll, because it did. It wiped out some smaller theaters, but we have a bigger and more vibrant small theater scene than any place else in the country, including New York. It is important in terms of those of us who love theater. It creates the opportunity to see so many kinds of things that you would not otherwise see if they had to be on a grand scale. And a lot of these things develop and go on to be, go on to Broadway and that sort of thing. But lots of stories can be told in these small venues that just aren't appropriate for the bigger scene. So a lot of great work is able to be produced. It's great, I think, for the creative community, for actors to be able to act and to do so in ways that can really stretch them. A lot of actors in LA are film and television actors, but I think most everybody started on the stage, and so the opportunity to get back to the stage and do that sort of thing, it really allows them to stretch, which then as an audience allows us to see some amazing performances, and to see it in an intimate setting is so human. It's different. I love Broadway. I love going to the big shows, but I always feel like an audience member that is separate and distinct from that thing that's happening up there on the stage. When you're in intimate theater, 99 seats or less, there's not that separation. When you come to see Salvage, it takes place, the whole show takes place in this bar. You feel like you're in the bar. So there's a kind of magic that can happen on a small scale that just simply isn't possible on a large scale. That's a different kind of magic, and certainly love that. But small theater is just got that whole other layer to it. And it's really important for audiences to come out and support intimate theater, because it is for the people producing it, for the actors, for everybody involved, it is a labor of love. There's no money in intimate theater, but we need it. It needs to be supported. So I think anybody who loves theater ought to come out for two reasons. One, because it's going to be, whatever we're talking about, whether it's Salvage or whatever else is available to see, coming out and supporting it, coming out for the opportunity for that intimate, urgent kind of experience. And then also just literally for supporting just kind of being part of the community, part of the team, supporting intimate theater so that it can continue, so that it's there for all of us. So take one for the team and come see a great show.